Hello, Thomas Jefferson students, faculty, and administration. I'm Norm Meyrowitz, and thanks for inviting me to your TED conference. I actually attended the first TED conference in 1984 when most of you were about -12 years old, and I've always wanted to be a speaker. I'm honored to discuss Randy Pausch's The Last Lecture and its relationship to the one question. I hope to provide some insight into Randy as a student and a colleague while we both attended Brown University. Let me give you a 1-minute introduction to myself. I entered Brown in 1977, a year ahead of Randy. I was the teaching assistant, TA, for several of his courses. TAs are students who are at more advanced levels, and they tutor and grade students who are in their earlier years. I went on to develop a computer system that was a forerunner to the World Wide Web, and later I was President of Macromedia Products, now Adobe, creating Flash, Dreamweaver, and other products that you may be familiar with. I also was the guy cited in Randy's book as always being prepared by having an extra projector bulb in my backpack, or, as my wife calls it, always being a geek. Let me describe Randy back in 1978 when he was a freshman at Brown. He looked like and acted a lot like Sheldon Cooper in The Big Bang Theory. Well, he had a tiny bit less ego than Sheldon and a tiny bit more savvy with the ladies. Randy was really bright and exuded confidence. He often believed that he was right, and he usually was, but he was always willing to listen and to admit he was wrong when he was wrong. Randy later became a TA himself, passing on his knowledge to the next generation. He also worked tirelessly in the Brown Computer Graphics group, pulling all-nighters to get projects done. Now, all-nighters have a bad connotation, but these all-nighters were for doing what he loved, not something he was forced to do. And that's an important distinction. Much as Randy's book conveys, I remember Randy as always being very upbeat and positive. He thoroughly enjoyed whatever he was doing. He exuded enthusiasm. Part of the reason he was so exuberant was that he typically only undertook tasks he was passionate about. At first that sounds obvious, but it's remarkable how many people go through life doing things they don't enjoy because that's what they think they should be doing. Of course, Randy took all the required classes to get his diploma, and some of those classes were deadly boring. But in the big picture, Randy was totally into computer science, so he hunkered down and he stuck it out in those less than stellar courses because that was the way to get to his ultimate goal, his computer science degree. Randy and I had the good fortune to have Andy Van Dam as a professor. He was both the teacher for our classes, the instructor for the classes we TA'd, the mentor of the graphics group where we did projects. Andy started teaching at Brown in 1965, and since then he has taught the introductory computer science course every year, except for a few years when he took a sabbatical, a leave of absence, to do research at another university. Why has the most senior faculty member taught freshmen for 48 years? Because he loves technology, and most of all, he loves teaching. He believes teaching is the noblest of professions, and he loves passing his enthusiasm and his knowledge on to others. Randy was the same way. He loved technology, and he also loved teaching. His course on building virtual realities at Carnegie Mellon was one of the university's most popular courses. Andy was a major influence on Randy and me. He imparted the philosophy of doing what you love while helping others. When you go to college, I encourage you to pick your courses based on the reputation of the professor, not on the title of the courses. An inspiring teacher can become a great mentor who could be the key the key influence in your post-college life. So this brings us to the question at hand. How does one balance the pressures of achieving personal academic success with the necessity of recognizing the fleeting nature of life and acting accordingly? Well, that's a big question. But Randy's philosophy, as well as mine, boils the answer down to 2 words. Be genuine. Randy was as genuine as they come. He had his own personality. He had his own quirks. He had his own opinions. But most importantly, you always knew where he stood, and you always knew that whatever choices he made were out of sheer enthusiasm and not out of selfishness. He was always himself. People notice genuineness. People know when you're being yourself or whether you're putting on airs. People know when you're comfortable in your own skin and when you're trying to pass yourself off as someone else. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of job applicants in my years. And it's easy to distinguish those who are genuinely comfortable with themselves and enthusiastic about their own past work, distinguished from those who are trying to pass themselves off as something they're not. As you might have heard, college admissions offices look at things like grades and SAT scores and extracurricular activities. But it really are the essays that are vitally important. They are meant to try to discover if you are the person you want to be. The admissions office is looking to enroll students that are genuine. So how does being genuine answer the one question? Being genuine means understanding who you are and understanding where you want to go. Until you know that, lots of things will feel pressure-laden. Even trying to figure out who you are and where you want to go can feel stressful until you've answered those questions. But once you know who you are and what things really light you up, you'll experience a subtle but important shift in your mindset. For example, once you figure out that you want to be a doctor and doing well in a particular organic chemistry class is crucial to your goal, then your attitude will shift. Randy figured out who he was and what he wanted to do, and then stuck to his dreams no matter what brick walls were tossed in his way. To fulfill your dreams like Randy did, you first have to know what they are. And to do that, you really need to take some time out of your day-to-day treadmill of life and consciously gather your dreams. You may not know what they are at first, but by making time on a regular basis to think about them, you're giving your dreams the priority they deserve and charting your course to the future. I know you already feel like you are taking too many subjects, but it turns out the most important subject is you. And if you don't have any time to think, at least do what I do and think about it in the shower. The way that I found out my dreams is to try a lot of different things. I was a not very good athlete, a barely passable clarinetist, a terrible actor in drama club. It didn't feel natural. But in junior high, I was introduced to the school paper and to a mainframe computer shared among schools. FYI, it had 1,000,000 times less memory than your iPhone. Layout, lead paragraphs, typesetting, it all immediately felt natural, like I had known it forever. I could tell you the name of any typeface you threw out at me. I was a font savant. Same thing with bits and bytes and arrays and loops. It just felt like it always had been part of me. And lo and behold, I ended up involved in the early development of the web, the very intersection of technology and journalism. So the advice here, try many things and don't settle until you find what is natural for you. That's the key to being genuine. Once you figure out who you are and what you want to do, what you used to call pressure will morph into intensity. You'll still be working hard, staying up late, and yes, sorry to say, you'll still feel stress, But it turns out that psychologists recognize two types of stress: distress, the bad stress, and eustress, the good stress. Eustress, the compound of EU, the Greek for well, and stress, is that fulfilling stress that pushes us to a higher level of performance and is seen necessary for growth. It's the stress that someone feels running a sprint or performing a sonata. In fact, I would say that Randy's two key philosophies, always having fun at what you do and always trying to break through walls, that's the very definition of eustress. In fact, probably my most vivid memory of Randy was in a weekend programming crunch. We were both putting final touches on graphics demonstrations that we had to show at 9 a.m. Monday morning to a group that was looking at providing the computer science department $1 million in funding. We had intense pressure to get the project done, but it was positive pressure. We were in the zone, in eustress, and loving it. And by the way, we finished in time, and we got the money. So Randy's philosophy and mine: be who you are, not who someone else wants you to be. Do what you love, not what you think someone else wants you to do. Seek out the good stress and minimize the bad stress. Help others do what they love too. And most of all, be genuine. Randy was a genuine character, a genuine intellect, and in his untimely death, a genuine inspiration to others. Thank you.